What if I told you that the loudest battles of your life were never fought out there but inside your own mind? In a world addicted to reaction, where anger is mistaken for strength and validation is mistaken for truth, we've forgotten a quieter path, one walked by the Stoics, forged not in noise, but in self-mastery. This video isn't about winning arguments or impressing others. It's about reclaiming your peace, about letting go of the need to be right, about building unshakable calmness. When the world tries to pull you in 10 directions at once, you'll discover how to stop letting others define your worth, how to protect your energy with boundaries, and how to finally be free from the weight of expectations. Because when you no longer react to the world can no longer control you. Let's begin not with noise, but with clarity, not with reaction, but with presence. Calmness is a choice. No one can control you unless you allow it. How many times have you let a thoughtless comment or a small action from someone else ruin your entire day? A petty criticism, a condescending gesture, a cold glance, and immediately your inner world goes into turmoil. But the truth is this: no one can make you lose control unless you give them the power to. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." We often believe others made us angry, hurt us, or ruined our mood. But in the realm of your inner world, no one has that kind of power. Your reaction is a choice, and that choice is always in your hands. Imagine sitting quietly in a peaceful cafe. A stranger walks up and says something offensive. Their words can be a blade, but only if you allow it to stab you. If you remain composed, that blade falls to the ground, harmless. But if you react, if you let your emotions flare up, you handed that sword to someone else, letting them steer you as they please. Calmness is not passivity. It is inner strength. It is the ability to govern yourself when others cannot govern themselves. A pause, a breath, a moment of self-observation. That is when you reclaim control. You don't have to react immediately. You don't have to respond to every word. Not everyone's opinion deserves your attention. You can step back, observe without getting pulled in, and in that moment, you become stronger than anyone trying to shake your composure. From now on, whenever you feel the urge to get angry, pause and ask yourself, is this reaction truly necessary? Will it make me better, or will it only make me a prisoner of my emotions? Inner freedom begins there, with awareness, with the choice not to let others take control of your mind. Letting go of expectations. No one is obligated to behave as you hope. Have you ever felt disappointed because someone didn't treat you the way you treated them? Maybe you were there for them when they needed support, listening, helping, sacrificing. And yet, when you needed them the most, they were silent, absent, or indifferent. That pain is real, but not because they did something wrong. It's because you had expectations. The harsh truth is, no one is obligated to behave according to your standards. Everyone grows up with a different value system, with a different lens through which they see the world. And when you try to force someone to live by your code, you're not only hurting yourself, you're denying reality. Expectations creep quietly into every relationship. I was there for you, so you should be there for me. I respected you, so you should respect me. It sounds fair, but in truth, it's a trap. The trap of expectation. The trap of believing others will understand you, respond the way you want. And when they don't, you feel let down, hurt, frustrated, not because they did something terrible, but because reality didn't align with the story in your mind. The Stoic doesn't stake their emotional life on the behavior of others. Epictetus once said, "If you want peace, stop trying to bend the world to your will. Learn to accept things as they are. Instead of demanding others understand you, understand that they are acting within their limits. Instead of waiting for them to change your own perspective. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean being indifferent. It means loving without demand, caring without conditions, being kind without needing recognition. When you let go of expectations, you stop being a victim of others' behavior. You become free. The next time someone disappoints you, pause and remind yourself, I expected them to behave like me, but they are not me, and that's okay. Freedom begins when you see people as they are not who you hoped they would be. You don't have to be right all the time. Peace matters more than proving a point. Have you ever thrown yourself into an argument not because you were uncertain, but because you wanted to prove you were right? Have you spent hours trying to convince someone that your perspective was the logical one, only to feel drained, not victorious? That's a subtle trap, the trap of the ego. We often confuse being right with being at peace. We think that only when we prove ourselves will we be valued, but in reality, that pursuit often costs us something more precious: the calm of our own mind. The Stoic understands not every debate needs to be won. There are arguments in which, even if you're right, you still lose because you lose your clarity, your serenity, your compassion. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, you don't need to have an opinion about everything, because sometimes silence is wisdom. Stepping back, not reacting, is the act of someone strong in spirit. Picture an argument, words fly, emotions flare, and you know for sure you're right. But if you stop, smile, and choose not to react, you preserve your dignity, and you send a powerful message. I don't need victory to feel complete. The truth is, you don't need everyone to agree with you. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Those who truly understand you won't demand it, and those who don't, no amount of explanation will help. You can choose peace over being right. You can step back not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough not to need validation. Next time you feel the urge to prove a point, ask yourself, will the truth I hold disappear if I don't say it? The answer will take you to a quieter place, the place where the wise often retreat. Don't let others rewrite your worth. Think back to a time when someone said something that made you question yourself. Maybe they criticized your appearance, questioned your abilities, dismissed your efforts, or belittled your dreams. At that moment, you felt hurt, and perhaps even asked yourself, were they right? Am I really not good enough? And so, you allowed a fleeting comment to become a lasting narrative in your mind. That's when you gave someone else the power to rewrite your worth. Stoic philosophy reminds us, your value does not lie in the hands of others. It does not fluctuate with praise or criticism. It's not determined by how the crowd sees you. Your value lies in your actions, your character, and the way you choose to live each day, quietly, consistently, and with integrity. Epictetus once said, if someone offends you, realize that it is your own mind that permits the offense. Others may say whatever they like, that's their business. But whether you believe their words or not is entirely your choice. A person with inner strength does not let their emotions rise and fall with every glance or opinion. They understand that others can only paint a version of you with their imagination. But you are the only one who truly knows the journey you've walked, what you've endured, and what you're striving to become. Imagine being in a room full of noise, every judgment, every criticism, a loudspeaker blaring static. But if you choose not to listen, if you sit still and turn inward, all that noise loses its power. It becomes just that, noise, nothing more, nothing less. From today, stop searching for your worth in the eyes of others. Look instead at the choices you make, the way you love, the fears you overcome, and the truth you dare to face. That is the true measure of your value. Don't live to please everyone. Don't reshape yourself just to avoid being misunderstood. Those truly worth your time will see you, not through hearsay, but through the quiet truth their hearts recognize. Your worth doesn't live on someone else's lips. It lives in how you choose to live your life. Set clear boundaries, how you protect your energy and self-respect. Think of a time you said yes when deep down you wanted to say no. Maybe it was an invitation when you were exhausted, a favor when your plate was already full, or quietly accepting behavior that crossed a line. In that moment, you didn't just ignore your feelings, you compromised your self-respect. We often confuse kindness with people-pleasing, flexibility with a lack of boundaries. But living without clear limits is the fastest path to burnout, quiet resentment, and losing your own sense of self. Stoic wisdom teaches, the wise person does not try to control others, they control themselves. And part of that control is knowing how to protect your mind and energy from what doesn't deserve it. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates with locks. You decide who and what gets to enter your life. Imagine yourself as a garden. If you let everyone walk in freely, stepping on the grass, picking the flowers without care, that garden will eventually fall apart. But if you build a path, put up a fence, and say, only those who enter with respect and love are welcome, your garden will thrive and bloom the way it deserves. You don't need to explain every boundary you set. You just need to hold them with quiet firmness. A soft no, a timely pause, a graceful retreat. These are signs of someone who knows how to protect their worth and their energy. Remember, if you don't set your own limits, others will, and usually lower than you deserve. From today, stop trying to be the nice person for everyone. Be the right person, the one who is true to themselves and to what brings peace and self-respect. Because if you don't protect yourself, no one else can do it for you. Don't live for validation. Real freedom comes from within. There's a subtle trap in modern life that many don't realize they've fallen into, living for other people's approval. What you wear, what you say, what you do, no longer stems from your values or true desires, but from a quiet craving to be praised, accepted, admired. But have you noticed? The more you live to please others, the more you lose yourself. And the price you pay for external validation is constant inner unrest. Stoic philosophy warned of this thousands of years ago. Epictetus said, if you always care what others think of you, you become their prisoner. And he was right. No one is truly free if they're enslaved by the opinions of others. You may be celebrated today and forgotten tomorrow, admired for your success, then torn down for a single mistake. If your life is built on validation, the winds of public opinion will shake your very foundation. But when you live by inner values, you no longer need to prove yourself. You don't live to be loved. You live to love yourself. You don't chase the spotlight because you know the light within you is stronger than any stage. True freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is no longer being controlled by how others see you. Ask yourself, are you doing this because it truly matters, or because you want applause? Are you sharing because it's honest, or because you want to be admired? Can you walk a path few support simply because it's true to who you are? Inner freedom doesn't come from being impressive. It comes from a quiet, unwavering truth. I know who I am. I know what's right, and I don't need anyone to approve it. From today, stop living to be accepted. Start living to be honest with yourself. Because when you live true, genuine recognition finds you. And if it doesn't, you're still at peace, because you never needed it to be who you are. Choose silence over argument. When you don't react, you control the situation. Most people react on impulse. A rude comment, an accusation, or even a small misunderstanding can trigger a heated argument. But have you ever realized it's not what people say that truly hurts you? It's your reaction to what they say that makes you lose control. A person with inner strength isn't someone who wins every debate. It's someone who knows when to stay silent, someone who understands that truth doesn't need to scream, and that dignity doesn't need to be defended through back and forth arguments. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When someone insults you, ask yourself, does this truly offend me, or am I allowing it to?" That question often startles us, because most anger, most arguments stem not from facts, but from wounded ego. Imagine you're in a meeting. A colleague aggressively criticizes your idea. In that moment, you have two choices: react immediately, defend yourself, and turn the meeting into a battle of egos. Or you stay silent, listen, observe, and respond calmly, briefly, only if necessary. And in that silence, you take control. When you don't react emotionally, you disarm the other person. When you stay calm, you force them to reflect on their own words. When you choose the right moment to speak, your presence becomes a quiet force. Silence does not mean surrender. It is the expression of someone who knows their strength and who doesn't need words to prove it. People can only pull you into a fight if you walk in, but if you refuse to engage, the battle never begins. Starting today, train yourself to use silence as a form of supreme self-control. When you don't speak meaningless words, you create space to think clearly. When you don't react instantly, you refuse to hand your emotions to others, and you'll begin to see. Sometimes, a calm gaze says more than 1,000 arguments ever could. Gratitude is a weapon against anger and negativity. There's something most people don't tell you. Anger cannot coexist with gratitude. They are like light and shadow. When gratitude appears, negativity dissolves. You may feel tense from criticism, frustrated by things not going your way, or angry at being treated unfairly. But right in that moment, if you pause and ask, "Is there anything I can still be grateful for?" something powerful will begin to shift. Stoicism calls this reframing, shifting your perspective from what hurt you to what helps you grow. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, a man who faced endless adversity, once wrote, "Be grateful not only for pleasant things, but also for difficulties, for they are chances to cultivate virtue." Someone insults you, it's a chance to practice calmness. A failure, an opportunity to learn what success couldn't teach. A bad day can become the foundation for a stronger one if you choose to see it through the lens of gratitude. Imagine you're in the middle of a draining day. Stress is piling up, someone frustrates you. Instead of reacting as usual, you take a deep breath and think, "I still have the health to face this day. I'm learning emotional control, and this is the test." This is a moment to become the calmer, stronger version of myself. That's not blind optimism. That's the inner strength of someone who chooses to see the positive, even in discomfort, and uses that vision to stand firm. Seneca once said, "Happiness does not come from having more, but from recognizing what is enough." And sometimes, enough is nothing grand. It's a quiet moment of pause where you whisper to yourself, "I'm still alive, I'm still learning, and I still have choices." Gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a conscious choice to choose peace over judgment, hope over bitterness, and continuation over giving up. Try this simple practice. Each morning, before your day begins, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Make it a ritual of the soul, and you'll find the world may stay the same, but your perception changes, and that is what creates strength. Because the person who lives with gratitude is untouchable by bitterness, anger, or negativity. Embrace criticism as a lesson for growth. No one enjoys being criticized. Even a small remark can pierce the ego, causing pain, shame, or defensiveness. But if you are on a journey of building inner strength and emotional maturity, then criticism is not an enemy. It's a mirror. And sometimes, that mirror reflects things you never wanted to face. In Stoic philosophy, how you respond to criticism is one of the deepest tests of inner fortitude. Epictetus once said, "If someone speaks ill of you and they are right, change yourself. If they are wrong, why let it trouble you?" This seemingly simple quote holds two profound principles. If the criticism is true, be grateful and change. A strong person isn't someone who's always right, but someone humble enough to acknowledge their faults and brave enough to correct them. If the criticism is false, remain silent and move on. Not everyone who criticizes you understands you, and not all words are worth your peace of mind. Imagine you share a passionate idea in a meeting. Someone bluntly says, "This idea is totally unrealistic." You have two options: react emotionally, defend your ego, and create conflict. Or pause, set emotions aside, and ask calmly, "Could you share more specifically what part doesn't seem realistic to you?" That moment shows you're not just in control. You're proving that growth doesn't come from applause, but from how you receive difficult feedback. Some criticism comes from envy, pain, or bias, but some are hidden gifts, harshly wrapped, yet deeply valuable. You must train your ears to discern, and your heart to stay open, not to shrink from negative feedback, but to learn from it. Ask yourself these three questions whenever you're criticized. Is there any truth in what they said? What can I improve from this feedback? If I set emotions aside, what's the lesson here? Those who learn from criticism don't just improve faster, they grow deeper, stronger, and more resilient from within. Because in the end, as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, those who insult you are merely testing your calmness. And if you maintain that calmness, you've already won without needing to defeat anyone. Letting go is not weakness. It is the path to inner freedom. Have you ever felt like you're holding on to too many things inside? A hurtful comment from someone in the past, an injustice that was never addressed, a lingering anger you've never fully expressed, or simply the thought, "I should have been treated better." Letting go does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean instantly forgiving everything. Letting go means you choose not to let it control you any longer. In Stoic philosophy, there's a clear principle. What lies beyond your control, let it go. Not because you are weak, but because you've recognized something far more valuable: peace. Imagine holding a burning coal, ready to throw it at the person who hurt you. But the longer you hold it, it doesn't burn them, it burns you. Anger, resentment, bitterness, they are all that burning coal. The longer you carry them, the more freedom you lose. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not be disturbed by what is outside your control, that is not your concern." So how do you let go? Recognize what is holding you back. A person, an expectation, an injustice, name it. Ask yourself, does this still deserve to drain my life energy? If not, you already know what to do. Instead of trying to change the past, change your perspective of it. The past cannot be altered, but it can be healed if you learn to see it as a lesson, not a sentence. Stoicism doesn't teach you to forget. It teaches you to set down what no longer serves your growth or peace. Without letting go, you stay stuck in the past. Without letting go, you're vulnerable to old wounds controlling your present. Only when you release can you move forward. And the paradox is, you let go not because you lost, but because you've won over yourself. Remember, letting go is not weakness. Letting go means you've grown strong enough not to carry it anymore. Living by values, ethics, and purpose as foundations of emotional strength, you can master your emotions. You can let go of past pain. You can stay silent in the face of provocation. But if you don't know what you're living for, then all those things are just floating skills inside a soul without a compass. This is something Stoic philosophy emphasizes deeply. Nothing brings lasting peace more than a life guided by values and purpose. Because when you know your values, you're no longer easily swayed by temporary emotions or fleeting temptations. When you live by principles, you don't need others to define who you are. You already know. When you live for something greater than yourself, the small things, hurtful words, disrespect, criticism, lose their power. Seneca once wrote, "No wind is favorable if you don't know which port you are sailing to." And if you don't know what you're living for, any person or situation can pull you off course. So how do you live with values and purpose? Define your core values. Maybe it's honesty, courage, gratitude, justice, or discipline. Write them down, remember them. Measure your daily actions against them. Choose a meaningful goal, something larger than yourself, so you live not just for yourself, but for the contribution you want to leave behind. When you live with purpose, you become less fragile to meaningless things. Live in alignment with your values, even when no one's watching. True ethics are not about what you show to the world. They're about how you act when no one is looking. And that is the essence of true emotional strength, an inner force that cannot be shaken. Stoicism doesn't teach you to live to become someone impressive. It teaches you to live in such a way that, no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you remain yourself. Firm, clear, purposeful, and always choosing what is right, even if it goes against the crowd. Ethics are the anchor that keeps you steady in the storm. Purpose is the lighthouse that guides you beyond yourself. Remember, inner freedom does not come from escaping emotions, but from living a life of meaning, discipline, and clear direction. When you live by your values, you don't just control your emotions, you control your life. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to begin from within and patiently build a version of yourself you can be proud of every time you look in the mirror. That journey begins with awareness, and you've already begun.